Consistent with most current models of astrophysics, the Casey readings state that the Earth and planets of this and other solar systems condensed from gases or mists. As has been noted, the awesome process of star and planet creation is still taking place in distant realms of outer space. From the celestial gases, everything in nature was created. From these gases, matter began its ascent in the various forms of physical evolution, in the mind of God. The readings are adamant that the process of evolution has a divine origin. To understand nature is to understand the mind of God. In one reading that describes the geological status of the Earth at about 50,000 BC, the Earth is described as slow cooling. This observation suggests that the initial planetary creation involved tremendous heat and that the evolutionary process is painfully gradual to those of us caught up in the space-time illusion. Casey's description of the slow-cooling Earth is consistent with current scientific models that have the Earth forming approximately 4 to 5 billion years ago under conditions of extreme heat. The intense heat was probably generated by compression, collisions with other objects in the solar system, and radioactive decay of elements, which continues to this day. Water is an essential component in the scientific model of life's beginnings. In this respect, Casey's explanation of the origin of life on Earth bears some remarkable similarities to the scientific model. Casey referred to water as the mother of creation. According to Casey, life began on Earth in a watery environment, first as a combination of elements without any definite form. Under the direction of the divine mind, the chemicals arranged themselves into more complex molecules, eventually forming primitive cells that developed the ability to move and multiply by division. Casey called these the first forms of life. The reigning scientific model of the origin of life on Earth is that certain chemicals thought to be present in the primitive Earth's environment, often referred to as the primordial soup, became energized, resulting in life. A landmark experiment conducted in 1953 at the University of Chicago by Harold Urey and Stanley Miller demonstrated that a lightning-like discharge in a test tube filled with methane, hydrogen, ammonia, and water could produce amino acids, the building blocks of life. Although the experiment has been repeated many times, it must be pointed out that neither the original experiment or its numerous repetitions have actually produced life in a test tube. The late Sir Fred Hoyle, a professor of astronomy at Cambridge University, has pointed out that the odds of even the simplest self-reproducing life forms emerging by random chemical processes in the primordial soup is comparable to the chance that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard might assemble a Boeing 747 jet plane. Curiously, extraterrestrial models for the origin of life are becoming more tenable. The idea is not necessarily that aliens traveled here in spaceships to colonize or otherwise transfer life to this planet. It is simply an extension of the primordial soup hypothesis. Perhaps some primitive life forms, clinging to asteroids or comets, survived a journey to land on Earth, adapted to the new environment, and began the long evolutionary process resulting in everything that we see around us in the world. Even with this exotic model, the primitive life forms would have evolved in the ooze or soup of some distant primordial environment. Thus, the origin of life itself is simply pushed back in time to some other planet or nebulae, where the essential chemicals and electric charge would have combined to produce life. For the hardcore materialist, the process is still a random event in a godless universe. In a sense, the Casey cosmology asserts that the source of life is extraterrestrial, that is, outside the biological systems of the Earth. However, the spark of electrical energy that began the march of life on Earth had a divine origin.